Merlin wasn't fazed, no matter how much I tried to change his mind. We walked side by side, Nicholas, Merlin, and me, down the hall. The two were talking and ranting about how much of a prat Arthur is, in a joking manner, I'm sure. Nicholas was still wary of me, so he placed his arms around me, keeping himself close while helping me stand upright. I try so hard not to think of the ongoing war in the wood. I try so hard to think of anything else. I let my eyes trail down the gravel path. I let my eyes fall on the garden, which had been blanketed by white, wet snow. Snow. I miss playing in the snow with my stupid friends, acting like a bunch of youthful, stupid kids, which we were. I wonder how they were. I wonder how Mum is. When we arrived back in our room, I went to sit in the corner, burying my head in my knees, hoping to shut the world out. Does it work? Not as much as I hoped it would. I hear shifting by my side, a faint sigh and then silence. I could hear only frequent breathing from both Nicholas and me. I could hear my own beating heart, hammering faster by the minute. "It'll be all right," he suddenly said. I turned to gaze at him, bearing no emotions as I did. "What will be all right?" "Your friend and Lucian. I notice how close you two were," he shrugged. "I can't make promises, but I have a feeling that tells me that it'll be all right." "Do you really think so?" "I believe so." I sighed, looking down at the floor. I know he's trying to make me feel better, but I still don't feel any better from this. I'm not going to feel any better unless they stop. I wasn't so sure about his words, but I desperately needed to believe in them. The idea of losing the people I cared about was enough to send me spiraling into a panic attack. Nicholas's voice was low and reassuring. "Trust me, Petal." He took my hand and grazed his fingertips on it. "Even if they were harmed in this battle, I'm sure they'll be all right at the end. I can just feel it." "How do you know that?" "No one knows that." "I do. My feelings were rarely wrong." "I hope that's true." The room grew quiet once more, but this time the silence was heavy and lingering. Nicholas graced me with his soft and gentle touch on my hand. I could feel his warmth through my thin linen dress. It provided a sense of comfort and calmness, one I know I needed, especially now. The time ticks very slowly, unbearably slow, almost as if it was scared to turn up. I can only find comfort in Nicholas's soft touch and murmur of hopefulness. Soon I find myself drowning in my subconsciousness. I fell asleep, once more in his arms, and the world quiet along. I'm no longer filled with worries. It wasn't long before a loud announcement was made announcing the Paladin's arrival home. My heart immediately skipped a beat. I had to go check on them. Pierre. They must be in Pierre's room like last time. I stood up, immediately. I need to go there now. While I trudged forward, I can hear Nicholas walking right behind me. I opened the door and gasped as, to my surprise, I found a familiar male with sandy blonde hair outside our doorstep. His blue eyes met mine, staring at me softly as if he had been waiting for me to come out. "Byrne!" I gasped. "What are you doing here?" "Coming to see my friend, of course, though you seem to be in a hurry to be somewhere else." "Well, that's because I am," I told him in a soft murmur. My eyes flickered, watching him from top to bottom, frowning slightly. "Are you all right? Aren't you supposed to be keeping a low profile?" "I'm fine, Adeline. I just want to see you. I don't know why, but I've been worrying the whole day." He spoke, then his hand found mine as he grazed it with his thumb softly. "Are you all right?" he asked, directing the same tone I gave him. "I would be all right if I can see with my own eyes that my friends were unharmed or in a far better condition than I imagined." The blonde raised an eyebrow, then he cast a look at Nicholas, who was standing quietly behind us, in a look as if to ask him what I meant. "Your friends? Pierre and Hilda?" he asked again when his eyes once again fell on me. "No, Odell, Elrond and one of the Paladins." He made an O sound. "I understand the hurry. You feel the need to go see if your Paladin friend was okay or not." I didn't say a word in reply and merely nodded. "Well, come along then. What are we waiting for?" The blonde had begun to walk ahead of us. "Where are we going?" he asked after heading down a flight of staircase. "Pierre's room," I answered shortly. "Of course." He nodded, finding it stupid to even question it. All three of us hurried as fast as we could to Pierre's room. The closer I was, the louder the beat in my heart. I can feel my breathing growing shallower, my leg growing wobbly, but I had to see. I had to go as fast as I could. When we arrived, Pierre's room was no doubt filled with paladins. Some suffered minor injuries, and some suffered fatal injuries. None were unharmed. It was unnerving. It's making my stomach churn just by pure sight. Then, at the corner of the room, on the far left bed in the room, I saw him. I spotted Lucian, unconscious and filled with ugly scratches on his skin. Immediately, my feet began to shuffle towards him, but before I could get to him, I was stopped by a sturdy figure towering over me. I turned to look at the one who had stopped me to find familiar green eyes staring back at me. His eyes with their usual hint of concern. "What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be resting?" he asked. "I came to check on you when I heard you almost passed out today and you're weak. You're not supposed to be here." "Pierre, I'm fine." His expression was stern as he frowned. "Just tell me why you came." The image of Lucian laying there on the bed filled my mind. His armor was torn and his skin was rash. Some raw blood was even gushing and spilt on him. I was a bit hesitant for a second, but I realized the best thing to do is not to lie to Pierre. "I just need to check on my sparring partner." I pointed towards Lucian. "Your sparring partner?" Pierre asked, his eyebrows furrowing in concern as he turned to gaze at where my eyes had fallen on. Pierre seemed to pause for a moment. He was silent. Then he sighed, very softly. I almost thought I imagined it. "He's alive. But I won't lie and tell you that he's all right. In fact, he's in a very horrible shape. They all are," he said suddenly. "Will they make it?" I asked. My heart started beating faster again as I watched Lucian on his bed, seemingly barely conscious. "We'll just have to have a little bit of faith, Addie. I'll try my best," he spoke softly as he turned to me. Only sincerity filled his eyes. "You can trust me. Have I ever disappointed you before?" I shook my head softly. "No, you never disappoint me, Pierre." "Will you trust me on this one?" For a moment I stared at him into his eyes, silently, getting lost in the forest of his eyes. After a while, I nodded slowly. "I trust you. Of course I do. Please make sure he's all right, Pierre." "I'll do my best. Now go back and rest, would you?" I merely nods as I turned away. I can't go back and rest just yet. I need to check on Odell. I have to know she's fine. I have a bad feeling about this. I have a feeling that I have to be quick. She needs me. "Are you sure you're going there now, Addie?" Bernard asked, concerned. His feet quickened to follow me. "I'm positive." I carried on my steps, not faltering for even a minute. "I think it's this gem bracelet that I shared with her. It's making me sense her. She needs me. Or to be exact, she's in danger and badly hurt. I can feel her dying. I have to be fast." "Petal, would you slow down for a minute?" Nicholas called out, rushing up to us too. His breathing was hard and shallow, and his steps were quick as he tried to catch up. "I can't, Nicky. Don't you get it? I have to see her. I have to—" Before I can say more, a familiar voice yelled out my name fondly, making me halt my step as I turned to face them. Her blue eyes were smiling at me, twinkling brightly. Her lips were pulling the most beautiful grin I've ever seen on anyone. She was emitting a happy radiance with merely her gaze, though it doesn't last long. Her happy features went away as if sensing the tension. Hilda's bright, smiling face immediately fell when she saw my expression. I can only imagine why. I must have looked distraught and troubled. "What happened this time?" she questioned, her brows furrowing in pure concern. "Hilda, seeing her made me feel bad. Do I want to keep her from this? I don't think I should. She was there for me from day one. It's not right to keep it from her, even if it was to protect her." I took a long breath, looking down before I exhale and looked back up at her. "I'm going to go to the Fey town. I have a friend there, and I think she's dying." "Dying." Her lips were in thin line as she seems to be in thought. After a few silent breaths, her mouth opened, and what she says next, I'm not sure if I could allow it to happen or not. "I want to follow you." "What?" My eyes widen in fraction, taking in her words as I tried to process it. "You heard me. I'm coming this time," she uttered, looking more serious than I ever saw her before. "You're not leaving me. I won't let you." God darn, can I actually take the risk of taking her along? It's far too dangerous. I can't bring her along.